Welcome to my podcast, where we are going to talk about a lifestyle with dogs and throw in a few life lessons along the way. Whether you're a hound hunter, bird dog enthusiast, running setters, pointers, retrievers, or a flat-out running dog junkie, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Heath Hyatt, a certified law enforcement canine trainer with over 3 decades of personal and professional training and handling experience. It's time for me to pay it forward. So grab your leads, lace up those boots, and come and join me on this lifelong process of teaching, training, and learning. Are you looking to unlock your dog's full potential and give them the best nutrition possible for peak performance? Then look no further. Inukshuk has what you're looking for. Inukshuk's nutrient-dense formulas are crafted to keep your dog's energy high and performance top-notch. Packed with premium proteins and essential fats, Inukshuk delivers the balanced nutrition your dog needs to thrive. From hunting dogs to police canines, Inukshuk is trusted by professionals. Give your dog the power of peak performance with Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of What's Up Wednesday. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I'm still eating on leftover turkey. Pack up sandwiches with me. Stick them in my chest rig when I'm walking. It's the first week of bear season in Virginia. Woohoo! So today, we're going to follow up from last week. I told you there was more to come. We're going to be talking about how scent breaks down. Because a bear track ain't the same on a hot, dry ridge as it is in a swampy bottom. Weather, temperature, humidity, all the fancy science stuff that our high school teachers tried to teach us, but we were out too busy chasing dogs, right? A track laid 10 minutes ago on a cool, damp morning smells like a fresh biscuit right out of the oven. But that same track baked in the sun on a hillside for 2 hours, shoot, that's fenced thinner than Uncle Randy's hairline. And if the wind gets a hold of it, well, that odor scatters faster than your dog when he hears the bathtub running. So grab your coffee, cinch up those boots, and let's get into why Mother Nature has more to say about our dog's nose than you do. You know, a cold track don't scare a real hound. He'll stick his nose in it, the dirt. He'll sniff a molecule from last Tuesday and say, yep, that bear went that way. And you know what? He's right sometimes. Well, that's how mine are anyway, sometimes. But really. All right, let's talk about some research here. All joking aside. Let's talk about what research shows us about scent aging and the decay of scent. So we got to go over a few scientific stuff. Remember, we talked about that. You know, odor molecules weaken and break down over time. You know, a scent trail is made of VOCs. What is a VOC? It's volatile organic compounds. And I know, and it's great because Jeff Shetler is in hunting with me this week, that Jeff and I actually talked about this in a podcast a while back. VOCs, they evaporate from their skin, sweat, breath, plant, fur, or disturbed soil. That's what it is. And studies in forensic science and canine detection show us that the VOCs evaporate at different rates depending on the chemical structure. All right. What is a chemical structure? We're getting real nerd out right here, aren't we? We're talking about, the breakdown of the animal. So the lighter molecules, they disappear within minutes. The heavier compounds, they linger for hours or longer. But sunlight, heat, oxidation rapidly destroy odor molecules. This is why a track becomes fainter or more patchy. I like to use the word connect the dots. You hear me say that a lot as it ages. So let's talk about weather and environment and how it changes scent faster than time alone. Okay, just going to hit the high spots. Researchers have consistently found that conditions matter more than the age of the track. So temperature, we just talked about it. It heats up the VOC evaporation. Okay, we talk about molecule structures, and I teach this in one of my canine classes. A molecule structure, as you put heat to it, it expands. Okay, so you imagine taking 100 dots in the size of a ball, and you start putting a hairdryer to it. Okay, and you can see those dots getting further and further and further apart until eventually, the more heat you pour to it, i.e., they all scatter so far that the dog can't make up that scent picture. Okay, so heat expands. Then we get into cold. Cold preserves scent, and it slows chemical breakdown. But once you get past the freezing point, 32 degrees, then a lot of that scent is not doing anything. It's just stuck. It would kind of be like you putting that leftovers in your mama's Tupperware. Right? You seal it up, boom, it's there. Stick it in the refrigerator. However, that's what it does. So the cold, especially freezing, shrinks that molecule structure, right? And it slows the breakdown of it. Hot, cold, we covered it. Let's talk about humidity. And we're going to go into depth in humidity here in a minute. But humidity, moist air helps the VOCs stay close to the ground. Dry conditions cause scent to dissipate quickly. Wind. Light winds spread scent into a wider cone. And a lot of times, if we're really paying attention to our dogs and they're working side to side to side to side, they're hitting the scent cone. And when they get to where they turn, they've actually run out of the scent cone and they're going back in chasing that odor. And we see this a lot with our detection dogs. When you've got odor coming out of a certain area, let's just say a suitcase, that odor's coming out of that area. Those dogs we call it bracketing. Man, they'll hit the size of that scent cone and they'll start out wide, and the closer they get to the luggage, the smaller it gets, and then boom, then they pinpoint the source of the odor. So winds make it a wider cone. Strong winds, they dissipate odor. It's so much that the dogs like are going to be they're going to recast themselves frequently because they're chasing those dots, right? They're trying to put that puzzle together and they're so far apart, it takes a lot more timing. And you remember in last week's episode, we talk about how the dog's nose is literally like he's going through thousands and thousands and thousands of odors. Well, at this point, he's picked up the target odor, whether it be your bear, your deer, your coyote, your lion, whatever it may be, coon. Like he's picked up that target odor, but now he's having to connect those dots. So he's working. All right. So strong winds make it worse. We know that. That's just those things are common sense. Now let's talk about rain, because this is something that, especially in the law enforcement field, that all of our guys used to think, well, if it was raining, we don't call the dog, it's useless. Well, why don't you call the dog? Well, they say when there's no use in them coming out. So the more I got involved and the more I learned, it was because we were lazy and we didn't want to get wet. Light rain enhances scent, and it actually traps it on the ground. Okay, so it holds it better. Heavy rain, they wash the surface scent away, but the odor that's pushed into the soil is still there. So trailing dogs can still detect it. But we all got to understand that water drags scent downhill, sideways into the hollers, and a lot of times it causes confusion for the dogs, or we call them scent traps. I mean, how many, especially you coon hunters that hunt around water, and the guys that hunt in the swamps, like you'll see the dogs get down around that water and they just can't move the track. I mean, they're there, they go back out, they chase that scent cone out, and then they come back to the water, and they really can't do anything with it. It's because the odor pools in those areas, and a lot of times it's real confusing, and it's really hard for the dog to work that stuff out. So rain, if it's a light rain, have at it. Heavy rain, you're really going to struggle to put those dots together, because what's holding underneath the leaves or the logs or the vegetation, whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it, they're going to be further apart. And if that odor drags your dog down off a hillside or into a low spot, he may not be able to work his way back up to where the scent originally started. So just things to take into consideration. All right, so let's go back to the humidity, because we've talked about this a lot. I want to just go over it again so we all could understand, or we're all on the same page. Humidity influences scent because the odor molecules need moisture to stay alive, intact, or detectable. Okay, that's what we teach. Too little moisture and the scent dries up. Too much moisture and the scent can be washed away. Just went over that. But let's talk about what keeps a molecule intact and how it helps trailing. So, and I'm just going to talk about human scent, okay? Because it's easier for me to explain it that way, because this is how I teach it. But we can put human scent into your game of choice. The fox, the coyote, the bear, the deer, the coon, whatever it is that you're chasing, squirrels, whatever it is. So we can switch out human scent with that game. But I'm just going to use human scent because this is how I teach it. It is basically made up of skin rafts. Okay. So we have live skin cells and dead skin cells. And when I'm teaching this, the live skin cells will fall off and float through the air. And if you've ever seen this in real life, or you've seen somebody that they've tracked doing it, it's pretty amazing. And the dead skin cells, which at that point are bacteria or sweat residue, like they pretty much fall straight off the body. But that wind, the direction of travel, all that stuff is going to play into effect of where it actually is caught on the ground. So moist air prevents those particles from drying out too quickly, keeping the odor stronger, and it's way more detectable. So stronger, longer lasting trails, that's what we want. Dogs can follow older tracks, right? Oh yes, we love humidity, but do we really? When that humidity gets up too high, we're going to talk about it here in a minute, dogs can't work, stresses them. Okay. So scent stays low on the ground. So humidity makes the air heavier, harder for the dogs to breathe. The heavier the air, more scent hugs the ground, right where the dog's nose is working. So the dog's going to be very meticulous, very pinpointed. But the result is going to be better tracking and more consistent scent picture. So let's talk about how this increases the bacterial activity, right? You just said it helps it stay alive. Okay, it does. So scent is produced by bacteria of shed skin cells. We just talked about that. So bacteria thrive in humid conditions. So they amplify the scent, create a stronger and better odor signature. All right, so I hear this all the time. My dog's open on top of the box, and I turn them off the box. They run around in circles and act like nothing's there. Have we heard that before? Have we actually seen it, experienced it? I guarantee you, if you've hunted long enough, you have. Think about it. Humidity. So it's easier for the dogs to discriminate one trail from another. This is when the bacteria activity increases. Okay, your scent picture is stronger. That's all you got to know. All right. So if there's less humidity, the dry air scatters scent, humid air gathers it, and what happens? What result do we get? The scent pools are rather close, and the dogs can work more confidently, pretty much. But how does humidity hurt our trailing? Excessive humidity for you southerners, especially us in October. Like I told you, I keep a running log on the temperature. I keep it on the humidity, the dew point. I want to know those things. Like fog, heavy mist. We had actually had a couple days with mist this year where the fog was so thick. It can capture scent. In extreme humidity conditions, especially fog, the moisture forms a scent blanket. I think we've actually talked about this. It'll trap odor above the dog's nose level, i.e., we're on the truck instead of on the ground. We just went over that, didn't we? Dogs strike, put them down, don't know what's going on. It may be trapped in a pocket. Okay. So the dogs, they air scent a lot, heads up. Ground scent becomes patchy and inconsistent. We went over rain and dew can wash away scent. Light humidity is good. Heavy moisture, especially rain, dilutes it, removes the scent. And the result, your start of the trail may be wiped away. If we don't have a start, we're definitely not going to have a finish. I tell my guys that all the time. It becomes faint, spread out, and again, we go back into that puddling or the scent pool is going to occur, and the dogs are really going to have to work hard to work that out. So let's talk about hot and humid. Down south again, dogs are going to work harder. They're going to pant more. Panting reduces sniffing efficiency. We know that. We've talked about it. It's hard for them to release the moisture in them when the humidity is high. And something here you may not know or may not pay attention to. It causes your nasal tissues to dry out faster. Well, wait, if they're sucking in moisture, but it's hot, we're adding hot and humid, okay? That hot is going to cause this. So we're putting those two together. Dogs struggle, they're going to struggle to collect scent, and the fatigue that they're going through, they're working twice as hard to take that odor in. It's going to make them less reliable today. Okay. So let's talk about microclimate distortion. Well, what in the world is that? High humidity and how it acts with the terrain differently. Everybody knows this stuff. This is common sense. We just going over a refresher. It's going to hold under brush longer. We know that. We know that if dogs if they're out in the open field and they're having trouble and they go into a shaded area, they pick it up. And sometimes they sound like they're looking at it, even though it's not that good of a track. Dirt traps moisture and scent. And we know that pavement radiates heat and it cooks the scent off. So if you're trailing across pavement, especially when it's hot and your dogs come to the road and they act like they hit that steel wall, you kind of understand why, right? So let's look at what would be an ideal humidity range for trailing. So I like the 50 to 70% is my really good times, especially the stuff that I've logged. It's still good from 70 to 85, but you got to watch for your dogs overheating. You're going to have that scent flooding, the scent pools where they're working it out. And when you start getting the airflow shifts or the wind changes, it's not going to be conducive for the dog. 90% above, that's when you have the fog and the mist, and there's when your thunderstorms come in. Scent rises and becomes very patchy. That's why our dogs are on top and not on the ground. 30 to 35%, it's drier air, so it's going to dry out quickly. And for you guys out west, here you go. It's going to be a little bit harder trailing conditions. So that's the stuff that I have found through what I've seen and what I've logged in my records. So I like that 50 to 70. That's when, I feel pretty good about it. Well, let's talk about ground disturbance. This is something that I learned way back in that 2005 era. And I was always taught that my dog is tracking ground disturbance. And even up to a recent couple years ago, a lot of people believe that police dogs were tracking ground disturbance. Well, what is ground disturbance? It's basically crushed vegetation or crushed VOCs. It's like the soil. It's the signature of the soil when something pushes up against it. So you mow your yard and you walk through your yard and you can see your footprints. Okay. Or I like to do it. I like to teach this when there's a good dew on for my tracking class, because I can take the dew and I can walk through it and you can see my tracks and you can see where I've crushed that vegetation. So that's what ground disturbance is. Now we're excluding, my body odor, okay, or however you want to put it. And I was taught this in 2005 until today, with scientific studies, it shows true that ground disturbance lasts longer than scent itself. All right, Heath, if that's the case, then how do I know my dog's tracking the right human or the right game? Well, again, dogs learn in pictures. So if you have one molecule that dog can recognize, he sniffs, oh yeah, that's bear, okay? And then he starts following that ground disturbance. And remember, dogs, they train, they learn. Okay, the last time I smelt this ground disturbance, there was a slight odor of a bear in it. So if I continue to track that ground disturbance, that picture of ground disturbance, and then 10 tracks up, oh, there's another molecule I recognize. And that's kind of how dogs learn. And that's how they can actually stay with. Remember, we talked about scent discrimination in the last podcast? But yeah, it can last hours to days, a lot longer than the body odor alone. And that's why dogs can trail old tracks, sometimes even when the animal odor is gone. We talked about dogs being amazing creatures. They are. So scent decays unevenly, making tracks messy. Even research with the GPS on dogs and controlling the scent trails, we have found that odor doesn't fade evenly. Pockets of scent remain in the shades and the moisture. Terrain protect them. We have seen that dogs zigzag or loop or cast, however you want to call it, because they are searching for the next recognizable patch or odor. And aging odor becomes fragmented. It's forced the dogs to fill in the gaps, which we just did with that ground disturbance. Ground disturbance, I smell this when somebody stepped. I smell where the soil is stronger because it got turned over. The rocks have shifted. I smell that. I can smell where the grass got crushed or the weeds or the vegetation got crushed. So I put all that together in a picture, and I'm going to fill in the gaps for the next 10 tracks. And then, oh, there's that odor again. And then I fill in the gaps for the next 5 tracks. Oh, there's that odor again. So dogs are going to change their tracking styles as scent ages. Again, this is stuff we know, right? Studies have shown measurable changes in dog behavior. Fresh track, let's say 30 minutes or less. That's a fresh track. You know, they're moving fast. Their heads are up. They're running to catch. 1 to 4 hours, going to be a little bit slower, more side to side motion. Scent is influenced again by terrain and the microclimate. What's happening in that second? How much is that environment changing over each minute? You know, is there a front coming in? Is the wind blowing? Is the sun out? Is the sun down? Are you on the north? Are you on the south? Are you in a bunch of moss? Are you in the laurel thickets? Are you in an open pine grove? Like, all this stuff plays into effect. Your older tracks, 24 hours, you know, dogs are going to rely heavily on that ground disturbance we just went over. You know, air scent becomes very minimal. Okay. The success is going to vary on your training, the humidity. We talked about humidity, you know, the terrain, all that's going to play into effect. So the animal itself affects the decay of the odor too. And again, research has shown that stress levels, the speed of the movement, the diet, the skin chemistry, the species, and the individual identity all are going to play effect into how long that odor lasts. So for us bear hunting guys, if you've got a bear that's feeding in an area, and we've seen our dogs, it takes them a long time to work that out, especially if they're feeding in an area, because they're slow moving, right? And yes, that odor is pulling and it's pulling and it's pulling, and they got to find the exit track, and that bear may go lay down and he may come back and he may feed again, and he go lay down again and he comes back and feed, and then the third time he decides to leave out of there. So we've all seen these things. If you've been in the woods, you know this. But a fleeing animal leaves a stronger, hotter odor due to that adrenaline. And that increases your VOC. So an increased VOC is going to give you a stronger odor, stronger scent picture. Right? We know that. So, just a couple takeaways. Scent aging is not just time, it's the chemistry and it's the environment. Tracks change consistently as molecules evaporate, break down, and disperse. Weather can preserve it, destroy it, or actually shift it dramatically. Dogs trail a mixture of body odor, plant, vegetation, and soil disturbance. If you guys have got really good trail dogs, you know this. Older tracks are going to be patchier, weaker, and they're going to require more skill to follow. Those connect the dot puzzles are getting really hard at this point. Right? They are. All right, guys. That's going to be a wrap for today's show. We cover weather, terrain, and track age. Basically, all the stuff that decides whether your hound looks like a world champ or like he's out here hunting imaginary squirrels again. And I seem to do a lot of that. Before we cut out of here, I want you to remember this. Now the bear season's in, West Virginia season comes in next week. Every time we turn a dog loose, folks are watching us. Some understand hound hunting and some don't. And some think that attracting collars is something you order off of late night TV. So be a good ambassador for our sport, the sport that we all love and cherish. Treat the land right. Respect folks' property. Keep your dogs safe. And show people what real hound hunting looks like. There's a heritage, there's history, and there's heart. And a whole lot of good dogs doing what they are bred to do. I appreciate you guys listening. Pet your hounds, charge your collars, and we'll see you next time at the tree.
Tailgate drops before the light, coolers packed and the rig sitting right, tracking collars charged, beeping green. boots in the bed and the rifle's clean. Dog box rattling, engines hum. We're chasing bear till the day is done. Old ring barking like he knows what's near. Nose to the wind, tail full of cheer. From the Virginia mountains to the Carolina clay, we're burning fuel and miles each day. Every turn's another tale. Through mountain mist and paper trails, we see the sunset red in Tennessee. Rise through the fog in old WV. North Carolina's pines echo loud with the cry of a hard-run hound. New York forest, Maine's deep snow, Vermont valleys where the black bears go. Truck keeps rolling, wheels don't care. We're chasing daylight, chasing bear. Rest stops few, the roads are long, but the fire in our hearts still burns strong. Wisconsin mornings cutting crisp and clear, Canada's wildwoods drawing near. Still got states we ain't run, but that hound dog fever won't let us quit. We see the sunset red in Tennessee. Rise through the fog in old WV. North Carolina's pines echo loud with the cry of a hard-run hound. New York frost, Maine's deep snow, Vermont valleys where the black bears go. Truck keeps rolling, wheels don't care. We're chasing daylight, chasing bear. Gas station coffee, Alpha XL on the dash. Another back road, another bear track. Friends made fast and stories told slow. Under stars where only hunters go, we see the sunrise gold in Canadian air. And it sets on a trail down in Appalachia. Packing steel and leather, grit and care. We're built for the road and chasing bear. So load the dogs and slam the gate. There's a trail ahead, we won't be late. From dawn to dusk, we're always there. Chasing daylight, chasing them bears.